How to start a street food business. When we were presented with this project, the goal was to present on something that you were an expert at. And I really had no idea what I am an expert at, except I do a lot of little things, but I don't know if I would consider myself an expert. And then a friend of mine suggested that maybe I do it on how to start a street food business because it's something that I have been involved in heavily in the last year. And so here it goes. There are three categories that I split this into. The first one is permission, the second one, product, and the third one, execution. Getting permission can be a very tricky process. So I'm going to start with the easier permissions and then I will filter down to the more difficult. The easiest permission to get is at the federal government level. Basically, all you need from the federal government is to file and get an EIN, which is an employer identification number. It takes 5 minutes online, and basically what you're doing is applying for a social security number for your business that you can use at the end of the year to file your federal taxes. The next level is at the state government level. Basically, there's two things you need to do at the state level. The first one is you need to file a DBA, which is when you reserve the name of your business. Costs $25. You can do it at the local county office, and it makes it so that nobody else can take the name of your business, and it's another way of identifying you. The other thing you do at the state government level is you file for a state tax permit, which allows you to collect tax on your food items, and basically 4 times a year you will file your state tax online and pay in whatever it is that you collected in state taxes when you were selling your product. The third level is the health department. This can be tricky. The best thing to do if you're going to start a health food cart with a health department is call them and find out all of the regulations with water tanks and washable surfaces. There's so many different things that the health department requires, which is all a good thing, but the best way to do it is just to talk to them first rather than trying to stab in the dark and get things correct before they come out and inspect your food cart and be as prepared as possible. The last place you need to get permission is at the local municipality level. Basically, this is permission for the places where you want to set up. Wherever you are, you're always in a town, a city, a hamlet, and permits are always required, and sometimes you need more than one municipality permit for one certain spot. And this can be tricky. Some towns it's not so tricky, but it can be very interesting. The next category is product. When you're thinking about what you want to sell, there are a couple different rules that you want to observe. The first rule is the 80-20 rule. And basically, the 80-20 rule states that whatever it is that you're selling, 80% of what you're selling it for should go in your pocket, and 20% should go into the cost of creating the product that you're selling. When you are deciding what to sell, always think about setting yourself apart from the other vendors. Depending on what kind of venues you want to sell at, if you're selling hot dogs and hamburgers and you want to go to the fair, there's not a very good chance of getting into something that might have veterans that have been going there for years and years and years. Places like fairs and events that have been going on for a long time thrive on the relationships with the veteran vendors that they've had for years and years, and they usually don't invite new people that are selling the same product. So you have to think of something that nobody else is doing to make it more appealing for those kind of venues to invite you to come in and sell your product. The last category is execution. So there's a few things that you have to think about when you want to pull off having a street food business. First is, what are you going to use to operate out of? You can use a truck, a trailer, or a tent. Typically, these things vary in price, but the more money you spend, the less labor you'll have involved in setting up and breaking down. For instance, if you were to buy a concession truck, you have literally no setup. When you go there, you drive up and you're ready. But the trucks tend to cost more money to buy. A trailer, that's kind of middle of the line. They cost less money than a truck, and when you show up with your trailer, there is a little bit of labor involved getting set up, and it's kind of a middle of the road choice. The last choice is to have a tent. Tents, cost very little to purchase, and a tent and a couple tables, but at the same time, there is a ton of labor involved with trying to set up a tent. I mean, you should probably set aside an hour to two to set up before you're even able to start selling. After how you want to sell your product, truck, trailer, tent, about is signage is up with great signs that people see far away. Really, your business is good. The line and it goes along with consistency. If you make a name for yourself, it's really to set up a Facebook page. With the time, electronically. It's really great to have a logo that is catchy, that you can put on your heads, recognize you, and you will definitely give off that professional appeal. There are a lot of benefits to having your own street food business, such as low overhead, because most street food businesses are run by their owners, and so you don't typically have to pay employees unless you choose to. You get to make your own hours. It's not like a restaurant. I mean, when you go to venues, you can pretty much set up and break down when you want to. You don't really have the limitations of being consistent all the time. So that's a really great perk. It's not boring. You get to meet a lot of really interesting personalities. And so there's lots of benefits to having your own business that is a street food business. There are also drawbacks to having your own street food business. For instance, the customer is always right, which is a great business rule to abide by, but it's sometimes really hard when a customer is dissatisfied or saying something that's untrue, because it's a very personal thing when you are owning and operating your business and you put a lot of blood and sweat into delivering something that's close to perfect, and some people just are never happy. So you have to bite your tongue. The next thing is upkeep of equipment. You could have a great week and make a ton of money, and you own your own business, and so if a refrigerator goes up, you might be calling it even that week, or might be taking a loss. You can't really call the landlord or the corporate office to fix the equipment. You have to pay for it yourself. Lastly, just, there are things, red tape and hoops that you have to jump through every now and then to make it work. And, you just get good at it, but it's definitely a bit of a drawback. The last important thing are people that you need to make friends with. The health department, definitely make friends. They are so much better when they are on your side. If you have something different that you want to do, it's best to just call the health department and ask them how you prefer you do it, rather than changing things or how you heat things or how you keep things warm. The health department is your friend. The IRS is another one. If you have any tax questions, I wouldn't guess. Just call them. They are paid to answer your questions and help you, and they're not just there for auditing. They are normal people with jobs that want people to be happy, just like the rest of us. And last, the most important, the community. Word of mouth is very amazing. It can be the most amazing thing for your business, and so definitely stay friends with the community in any way that you can. Give back any way that you can also while you're at it. Okay, so looking at those three categories one last time: permission, product, execution. If you pay attention to these, very thorough attention, you are bound to be successful. The last thing I want to show you is a picture of my street food business. It's called The Burrito, and so far it's been an amazing experience, and I've been very happy to have the opportunity to make a presentation on something that I've grown to love so much. So thank you for watching this presentation.